Hi, everybody. This is Joanne Ewing with Reach the Unlimited. And I am so excited today to have our guest, Denise. How do you say your last name?
Roberge.
Roberge. I see. I knew I was going to slaughter it. Roberge. Thank you so much for being here today. And we were getting ourselves, both of us were getting ourselves all situated today, right?
Oh, we sure were. We had some situations to take
We,
care of.
we did. Tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay, thank you. Well, I am an independent ordained minister of the
Hmm.
metaphysical pan-denominational variety. It was a private program, very unique little program. I've been doing s- studying spiritual arts and practicing spiritual arts for over 30 years. 33, 34 years. And by spiritual arts, I've evolved. You know how it is. When I was 17, I was broken open by the Seth material, and the nature of my reality completely changed from learning about multidimensionality.
Hmm.
And from then on, started to recognize that I had gifts. I had gifts ever since I was a child, but like in terms of intuition, knowing, clear knowings, clairvoyance, and such as that. I started channeling accidentally in college, in front of a classroom full of people. Didn't know I was channeling until later, though. I didn't know that's what it was, but
Wow.
yeah, yeah. So
How did you feel about not knowing what you were doing or what that was? How did that make you feel?
it was it the channeling was fine because the guides took me right out.
Mhm.
I was not in the picture. My ego wasn't in the picture. I didn't really know what I was talking about. I was talking about the book, the Seth material,
Oh,
and I had notes in my on little note cards. He said we couldn't read them. We could just check them if we needed to. It was a class on public speaking in college, and so all I know is I looked at my card and then I don't remember anything until it was over. And when it was over, everyone was stunned and their mouth jaws were dropped. And my professor came up to me and said, how do you know all this stuff? Of course,
wow.
the material was foreign to everyone.
Mhm,
I was 17. That was back in the 70s. So
mhm.
nobody knew what I was talking about anyway. But I guess it made sense because everyone thought it was fascinating, but they didn't. He said, you didn't even look at your notes once? And I said, honestly, I guess I just know the material. I didn't understand what happened until I realized I was a channel and put a name to it later. I didn't know I was a channel until I started channeling.
So did
Um,
you have anything prior to that that would have maybe triggered you that this was something that you would be able to do? Did you have other moments before that?
yes, I had an out of body experience. I
Mhm.
did something bad and I got caught at 14. I shoplifted and we got arrested, well, detained in
Mhm.
the office at the store.
Mhm.
And I was a little rebellious at that age,
Mhm.
and I fell to the floor. And my body left and was hovering around the ceiling, looking down, and they were all working on me and trying to figure out if I was still alive and what was going on and all that sort of thing. And I heard everything, I saw everything, but I saw it from a distance, and I loved it. I was just moving so peacefully and gracefully through the whole room and watching from such a different vantage point than I'd ever experienced. I had no idea that I'd left my body. I didn't really have the words for leaving the body at the time. I didn't even know what it was. I'd never heard of it. No one taught me how to do that. It was just something that spirit has had me put myself in situations where things happen.
Wow.
And then I learn about them afterwards. And so that was one thing that changed me somehow. It made me realize
I
that
would
something
imagine.
was different, that something was going on that was unusual.
Uh-huh.
And then I used to make pronouncements to people. I would say, um, so and so is ill, and my mother would say, no, they're not ill. And I said, they are ill. And she said, I don't think so. I would have heard about it. And I said, no, they're ill. And she said, how can you know that? You haven't even seen this person in weeks. And I said, I don't know, Ma. I don't know how I know, but I just know. And then come to find out the person was very dramatically ill, actually. So these strange things happened as a child and a teenager. And I didn't put it all together for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It took me a while, and it took me reading more books and studying on my own for quite some time, and learning about all the metaphysical stuff, the mystical stuff, and realizing that I might be one of those people. And
How did that make you feel when you had left your body? Because that would be a scary situation if you've never experienced it and
oh,
you
it's
didn't know
not
it's like that.
scary. You want to have that experience. It's lovely. It's absolutely lovely. It's so peaceful. At least for me, it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
I was not involved in the situation that
Uh-huh.
frightened the Jesus out of me. I wasn't involved. I was took myself out, and I was flying around peacefully. And
Really
all of a
amazing.
sudden, I heard a voice that said, you have to go back. You
Darn.
have to go back. And I went, no. And then
Oh,
all of a sudden I went, whoop, I slammed back into my body, and I went like this and took a breath, and I looked around and I went, oh my, how did that happen? It didn't scare me. It didn't
did you
scare me.
do that more after that time? Did that occurrence happen again or any time after that?
Not really, not that dramatically. I sometimes, I have varying degrees of leaving my body when I channel.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm just right here and listening and still pretty much in the conversation. And sometimes I even pop out of channel for a minute to make a remark to whatever it is that I'm saying, or
Mm-hmm.
whoever I'm talking to.
Mm-hmm.
But there are other times that I just go under and don't remember anything. So I don't consider myself a trance channel, but I consider myself someone who can trance channel when it's needed.
Why would
Usually,
you consider why would you say it that way? I'm curious because you're actually doing it, so I don't know why you wouldn't consider yourself that way.
because most of the time I'm in the room. Most of the time when I channel, I'm in the room and I'm aware of what's going on. I'm not like I was when I did the thing in college. I was not there. I don't know. I didn't hear anything I said. I wasn't watching myself. I wasn't there. That's kind of rare for me to go that far,
Mhm.
go away. That doesn't happen often.
Int
But there are times when I do readings, channelings, or whatever, and I don't remember anything until a person reminds me of it, and then I go, "Oh yeah, I have a vague recollection of that." So I'm
mm,
not that far because I can still usually recollect at
mhm,
least some of what I channel.
mhm,
But channeling's not really the biggest. Well, it's one of the things that I do regularly, but
mhm,
now I've learned so much about healing
mm,
because I've had to do a lot of healing, and traditional approaches never worked with me.
mhm,
Um, at least not with the emotional side and the spiritual side of things.
mhm.
Sometimes medical stuff works, and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah,
And I've had to creative, and I finally met some people that were into alternative modes of healing and into working with the cells of the body
mhm.
and working with the energy lines, the meridians, the chakras, and I started getting Reiki. And so I was introduced. The way I learned what to do was by doing the things that I did for me to heal.
Yes.
My healing was the most important thing,
Mhm,
and it was the reason I ended up getting certified in taking hypnotherapy training, taking certified teacher, certified practitioner teacher of EFT and Reiki and a bunch of other stuff. I needed all that. I needed all that.
yeah,
I think that my experience healing is what made me a healer.
mhm.
I don't really think I'm a healer. I want to correct that. I think I facilitate healing. I
I
like to
like
say that.
that.
I
I agree.
facilitate healing. I'm not doing the healing. I'm
We're
the
just a vessel.
vehicle.
Yeah, mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with you on that. I can't take responsibility because I'm just, like you said, you're that middle person, right? They
Yes.
work through you.
Conduit.
The
A
conduit, yes.
conduit or a facilitator. I never say that I heal because I know I'm not the energy. I'm not
Right.
the source.
Mhm.
I'm not the beginning and the end and the alpha and the omega and the all that is. That's not, I am part of that.
Right.
So is the person that I'm working with.
Mhm.
And I think the most important thing to do is to involve the person
Mm-hmm.
in the process as much as possible. So I do spiritual psychology
Mm-hmm.
as well. I help people
What is
work through.
spiritual psychology?
Spiritual psychology is what Wayne Dyer and Louise Hay and Michael Beckwith,
Mm-hmm.
the New Thought movement.
Mm-hmm.
It's what they do. They teach us how to think from another, how to visualize ourselves, to see our issues as something other than um, super real. Like there's something more real going
Yeah.
on. When I'm having an anxiety attack, for example,
Mm-hmm.
there's something going on in my energy field. There's something going on that needs my attention. And so, that I recognize that I may have been triggered, or I may have seen someone who was anxious and it took me a lot of years to learn how to deal with my empathy. That
Mm-hmm.
was the big, being an empath, because I'm a all there, all in kind of empath. And I've had to learn how to put boundaries around that, because it's so
Yeah.
hard to walk around the planet
Mm-hmm.
knowing what people are feeling all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to learn how to manage that. So I'm an empowered empath now, but while I was learning how to empower myself, I was challenged, and I've learned a lot of things. So I work with empaths a lot,
Mm-hmm.
teaching people how to function, because when you're highly sensitive, highly intuitive, the world is a very dense place to be, and to learn how to bring your vibration up
Mm-hmm.
and your thought life up, and pay attention to your mood and your attitude, and to recognize that when it first happens, and change your thought. That's where the magic is. The magic is in the moment. It's in the moment that you recognize that your thought or your mood or your attitude is going off center.
Yeah.
And if you can, the faster you can recognize it, the sooner you can get back to center. So understanding that we're energetic beings
Mm-hmm.
is what I love to teach. The first class first session for almost everyone that comes to me for counseling, for mentorship, I call it my mentorship program, is to teach about energy. I have a whole notebook full of what the chakras look like, and all kinds of stuff about energy, because if we don't understand about energy, we don't know, we can't really know how and why we react the way we do, and how
Exactly.
and why we feel what we feel.
Mm-hmm.
Because so many times I work with super sensitive people for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
People come and they go, there's something wrong, and I don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's not even theirs. We come to the conclusion
Yeah.
that they've picked somebody else's stuff up. So
Mhm.
helping people recognize what's theirs and what somebody else's is an important skill. It's one I had to learn.
That is a very important skill, and it's so subtle that you don't know. And so,
Mhm.
what are some tips that you would give somebody who does have that situation to be able to know what's theirs and what's not?
That's I try to get people in the present, in their bodies, centered right then and there, first of all, and help. I do usually do breathing techniques,
Mhm.
and a lot of, some breath work, some meditative work, some connecting people to their highest self,
Mhm.
so that they can go up a little bit and look down and recognize that they're still one person. But to get people to detach a little bit from their emotions, to detach a little bit from their fear,
Mhm.
by raising the vibration and seeing it from a higher perspective. And that takes creativity on my part, because some people need instruction, and
Mhm.
some people already kind of have that information. They just need step-by-step guidance about how to do that. And so that's the first thing, is to get centered in the body, and energetically, and to cool down the central nervous system.
Mm.
That's the most important, one of the most important things that I do, is to help people calm their nervous system down. And sometimes that involves a little bit of meditation, or it involves a little bit of Reiki, or it involves putting on some music and just doing breath work for 5 minutes.
Mhm.
We got to take the frequency. Well, we've got to relax the body so that the frequency can rise. When the
Mhm.
body is grabbing and holding on to negativity, the good stuff that's always flowing to us has a hard time reaching our consciousness. So It's a lot of consciousness work and a lot of being in the present moment. So people will often in a relaxed state um, they'll have their aha moments.
Yeah.
It helps to facilitate those moments where they go, I was with my uncle the other day and he was ranting about politics and started putting the fear of God into me, be thinking that, the country's dying and sometimes they just need to help to remember what it was by
Yeah.
relaxing and slowing down and calming down and getting centered and breathing. Those are the skills that I like to teach the most because they're everyday practical skills.
And we need them because our day is always so full of all different kinds of things. The thing that you said, though, that is really important, especially now, is the fear that keeps us into
Mm.
whatever mindset that we're in, and being able to see and recognize. Do you help people with like recognizing those triggers or those
Oh, sure.
pain points
Sure.
maybe before it turns into something that is more devastating?
One of the things that I teach almost everyone, because almost everyone needs the skill, I'm going to say everyone benefits from this skill, is
Mhm.
to learn how to monitor thought.
Mhm.
I studied Christian Science for about 8 years, and Mary Baker Eddy was a pioneer in thought, in the New Thought movement.
Mhm.
She was the one that brought it to Ernest Holmes, who brought it to Louise Hay, who brought it to Wayne Dyer. I mean, it's a whole long, beautiful history. So
Mhm.
I started with the source. The current modern day source. There have been sources for millennia. There's nothing new in the whole wide world and the whole universe. So but anyway, she has a phrase, and I don't know if I can remember the whole thing, but it's basically she taught, and I learned this through the study of Mary Baker Eddy's teachings. Stand porter at the door of thought. Only allow in such thought as you would like realized upon your being, realized upon your body. And then, it goes on to talk about remembering who you are and knowing the truth. And knowing the truth is that we are emanations of the divine,
Mhm.
whatever you choose to call it. And there are many names for it. And I honor all of them. I honor everyone's vision of what sacred is or what creator energy is, because who am I to tell people how to believe or what to think? I do honor, and that's
What
the
a novel
Pandora.
what a novel
Pardon?
idea in our world today, right?
Oh, well,
Who am
judge.
I to tell somebody how they should believe in their God?
Exactly, exactly. So I start off really a lot of times by getting people's language.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
try to use their language because the language is any language will do. I worked as a social worker in a very stressed out agency for quite some time at one point, and
Mhm.
they knew everyone was stressed out. There was so much going on, and they said, and I said, well, I teach meditation. I could do a meditation group or something like that, teach
Mhm.
people how to relax. And they said, oh, well, we can't do any woo-woo stuff here. And I said, oh, okay. How about if we call
Uh,
it stress reduction and I take out all the woo-woo? I'll take out all the woo-woo. I won't use any spiritual language at all, but I'll
God.
do the same program. And they said, great. So since then, I recognize that I'm a translator for people. I can help people understand
Mm.
things in their own language. I pick up on their language and I can use their language to get the points through, because the language doesn't matter. It's the ideas that matter. Did I
It
answer your
really
question? I go off and start
Oh, no,
talking. I
no,
hope
you did. Yeah, no, because the thing is that I love what you said, though, because sometimes just labeling something like in the woo-woo area, if you wanna
Mhm,
call it that, it just triggers people where it's the
mhm.
same as doing other things in life, right? There's other ways that
Mhm.
we implement these kind of practices,
Yeah.
but yet by having any kinda connotation to it being in the psychic woo-woo or anything world, then all of a
Mhm.
sudden it's uncomfortable and not right. But that's
Right.
changing, I'm seeing more and more. More and more people are
Right.
becoming more okay with it and realizing
More and more people are using the term universe,
yeah. Mhm.
as the higher power, as the
Yeah.
God, as the
Mm.
source energy, as the creator energy, and they're comfortable with that. I think because it's kind of a neutral word. It doesn't have a lot
Yes.
of
Ex
religious overtones. It doesn't have any religious overtones,
Well,
and many people have moved away from traditional religions, but still have a sense of spirituality, still have a sense
Yeah.
of the
I
mysticism.
I didn't know that I mean, I know that I have, because of my religious background, I have a trigger to God, the word God.
Mhm. Many
But
people
I
do.
know what, yeah, I know they do. And not, even though I know what it all means, I'm logical about it and whatever. It's
Mhm.
just, I haven't settled with my word yet. Even the universe doesn't seem to work for me in that realm. So I'm still
Mhm.
kind of feeling around for it. But I went to
How
this
about,
church.
I have an idea for you, and I'd like to mention this for anyone else that is in that dilemma.
Uh-huh.
Source is a good word.
Yeah, sources. I don't know. To me, it's not deep enough, I guess, or powerful enough, I guess. I don't know. So I've been playing with a lot of them. But I went to a church this last weekend, and he started out using God, 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 God. And I was like, "Roar," and I really felt it in my body. I'm like,
You got
man,
triggered.
you got to get over this, because you have the bigger picture. You know what's going on and
Mhm.
what that actually means in reality. But I had to really think about how many other people are triggered by those words just by
Many.
being in those environments.
Most people that come to me in
Mhm,
any kind of panic, full of fear, have
mhm.
all had experiences with either with religious people or in religions, or having their parents interpret religious
Yeah,
ideas in
mm,
ways that are frightening to them. Do I think all religion is bad? Absolutely not. No.
correct. Yeah, I
All
agree.
religion is not, I am not anti-religion. I'm not anti anything. I am pro people finding their own path.
Mhm.
So when someone comes to me and I recognize that some of the language that they were raised with, they either misinterpreted, or their parents misinterpreted, or a priest or a minister or somebody misinterpreted, said it in a certain way that created an instant sort of choking feeling, frightening, like, oh no, I'm gonna. And I've helped so many people. That's one of a big thing, is to help people release themselves from the burdens that
Yeah.
the conditioning that they were raised in. And that is involves religion in some cases, and in other cases it's other cultural things, such as the family dynamics, or the schooling dynamics, or abuse dynamics. Um,
While you were talking, I thought, what is the actual definition of God? If you were to pull it up, right? What is the actual definition of God? Because I know my interpretation of it was based on my religious upbringing, what I was forced to understand God to be, that I think at that point didn't, but I was in that religion. And then I went deeper and deeper into, but it's that authoritative, because my father was you listen to what I'm saying. You're to be seen and not heard. It was all those real
the
strict.
patriarchal stuff we were raised with.
Exactly. And so
Mhm.
that brought into that I think my feeling of what God is. But it's really the creator, the ruler of the universe, and the source of all moral authority and supreme being. Now there's still some triggering words in there, because I don't see God as
Yeah.
being, at least now that I see the love of the universe, the love of how they take care of us. My team is the most loving team that I've never experienced before. Like
Mhm.
supreme being. So I love this.
Patriarchal.
This is really
Patriarchal.
very much. This is an interesting statement, though. What is your feeling about God's the being God? Like, is God to you
There is
one?
no being God.
That's what I'm asking you. Go ahead with that. Explain that a
There's
little bit
no
more, because I
being.
agree with
There
you.
is no being. It's an energy force.
Hmm.
Um, it is vibratory. It's constant. It's run by unswayable principles.
I love that. Unswayable.
God is a principle that cannot be changed. The universal laws are fair and just.
That's
I think that the love part comes in through the translation.
mhm,
I'm not sure that any ray of energy from the cosmos, from the universe,
mhm.
would say use the word love. However, what they do ends up being received as love. So that's
Ooh,
why
that's
God is love.
very interesting. So why would you say that they wouldn't use the word love?
because it's they care. That I think that I still call energies they, and I still
Mhm,
have I believe in angels and ascended masters. I don't believe that they're physical anymore. I do believe they have energy that they emanate and they assist us with.
mhm,
So I say they because some of them had a body once, but in
mhm,
any case, these energies, let's call them the energies for now, of the divine, of
mhm,
which there are an infinite number.
mhm.
And we can sort of catch sort of some definitions of who they are and what they do, and some we have no idea. We could never know. Some of it's unknowable. But I wouldn't say that what they're doing is loving. I think they're teaching us how to fill ourselves with energy and love and how to raise our vibration. And when we raise our vibration, we connect with love and we can love back. And when we emanate love, we're also emanating fairness and justice and principle and value um, and all of that together is love. All of it's love
So what I'm kind of hearing
as a human.
what I'm kind of hearing you say is that it's the like you're using the word principles that come to
Mhm.
us, which we live by these principles, and then with that living that we're doing within that scope that we're sending out it's the product of the principles that love comes.
I think so. I mean that's my best guess today. Ask me in another couple of months. It might vary. That's how I feel. And it's really interesting that you asked that question because I almost texted you today to say, can we talk about the definition of God?
Oh, that's so funny. Of
And I
course.
thought, no, we've already got our sort of theme set, so I'm not gonna interfere with that. And it came up anyway. So you caught my vibe, girl.
Spirit always knows the direction to go because I really
Mhm.
feel like, and I know this is a hot topic
Mhm.
because everybody has their view of what God is.
Yes.
Even though I have a trigger with the word God, only based from my history, does not mean that I don't have a better or clearer understanding. And I do say clearer because I don't know
Mhm.
that we ever get to the I know what this is, but I have a clear
Exactly.
understanding of God or the universal flow or consciousness with what you were saying. But I never thought about that though as living the principles of life, bringing forward that energy of love. Because
Mm.
I'm still trying to figure out even what love is, I think, in my life because
Aren't
of
we all? Aren't we all?
but
Yes.
talk about that. What does love mean? And how does that weigh out with how we have this connection with God? Hence, I use that
I
word.
think as a lower frequency
Mhm,
being, humans are
mhm,
a denser energy. We are completely connected to infinite energy, so we are also part of infinite powerful energy. But
mhm,
as a human, we have just so much ability to put words on things, just so much of an ability to um, grasp these infinite ideas.
mhm.
Some of us might catch on more than others, but you know what? I lost track of the question. Could you repeat it?
I don't know
Yeah,
if I can repeat it.
I just distracted myself. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll have to think about what exactly I asked you, but it's I feel like wrapping your head around the fact that God, I'm just going to go. See, you can tell I really, really have an issue with this. My brain goes to 5 different words because I'm not going to say that word. But
Hmm.
with the God source and with the principles that the universe gives us to live our life, right? About doing good and not doing harm and being kind to
Non-judgment.
each other. Yeah, all the principles. That love is a byproduct of that, which is
Mhm.
really interesting because if you think about it, it's like having a father or a mother who's teaching their child to live a good life, and
Mhm.
yet they love them at the same time as teaching them. So it's hard for me to be able to differentiate or separate.
Well, maybe we could think of one possibility, and I'm open to all these ideas. I'm not locked into any one, but
Mhm,
maybe we could think about the universe or the source or the creator energy or all that is as a grand teacher
mhm,
who really cares about their students and wants their students. to understand how to make their lives better, how to improve their connection to all the power that they have access to.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
they distribute this very fairly
Mhm.
with great principle. Again, the principle is justice and fairness, or some version of that.
Mhm.
Everyone operates under the law of one of the laws is the law of attraction. That one gets a lot of attention.
Mhm.
Everyone has the same access to the law of attraction. How do we receive that which we wish, that which we desire? And I believe it's by lining ourselves up with this infinite energy to which we're connected.
Mhm.
And when we're in resistance, when we're in fear, when we're in
Yeah.
self-judgment or doubt
Yeah.
or hopelessness or any of those types of emotions, when we're really low on the emotional scale, we tend to block what is being given to us all the time. This good stuff is coming to everyone equally all the time. And that's why I think fairness and justice equal love when it comes to the relationship between the human and the
Mhm.
divine. Everyone has the same chance at having a happy life.
So
Everyone
how
also has the same chance of being guided
Mhm.
through difficult times.
Mhm.
Everyone has the same chances. But if they don't know what they're thinking and they
Mhm.
don't know how their mood affects their receptivity, if they don't know what's triggering them and they're in a loss about where to go, they have a hard time receiving what's being given. So it's all about receiving what's being given. So I help people put themselves in a place where they can more easily receive. And that does involve teaching people how to love themselves,
Yeah, absolutely.
how to be kind to themselves in their own mind, to have a
Right.
peaceful thought life. People don't know that they have control over that.
Well, I
They
think
don't
it's
know.
what you said, receive, and what you made me think of, when you have a 5-year-old, 2-year-old, whatever, and
I
they're
have a
saying
5.5-year-old granddaughter. I do know.
I think we all remember that time period if you're a parent. But anyway, it was making
Yeah.
me think of when you have that 5 or 2-year-old there who is like they want what they want and they're throwing a tantrum and they can't get out of that
Mhm.
particular mindset.
Right.
And I think that that's what we forget is that we get into that mindset that we can get out of. But how do you help people to do that? Because sometimes, we've all been there. We're like, I'm not going to stop this attitude. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
stay in
Oh,
this
sure.
fear or whatever. As adults, we do that. We're in situations that we feel we've been victimized from
Mm-hmm.
or that we don't want to get out of this particular situation based on fear. There's so many ways that we stay like a 5-year-old would stay in that tantrum. How do you,
It's,
because that's that mindset, right? That we were
yeah.
talking about, that we would talk about, but it's coming out of that and seeing it more into a positive way. How do you help people to get through that?
First of all, I reassure people that it's a process, and that if and that there are steps that they can take that are small, incremental, yet very important baseline skills that they just haven't learned yet. And
Mhm.
you don't know something until you know it. So right now you don't know anything but tantruming or fear, or you don't know anything but self-harm or whatever. I work with some people that have some sort of grave issues when they're out of balance.
Mhm.
Some of them, not all of them. Some of them are more students than um, well, anyway, I don't want to get into that. In any case, they just need to know that it's temporary. One of the things I start with is energy, because it's a lot easier for someone to understand that their energy needs reworking than
Yeah.
it is your activity, your actions need to change. I don't tell people they need to change because they don't. No,
Mhm.
they can do whatever they want. They have free will. People
Mhm.
can, and I always give people, I say, well, you can hold on to that feeling of revenge. You can hold on to that. That's your right. You have a right to feel how you feel. In fact, I encourage you to feel all your feelings. There are no bad feelings. However, when you're ready to move on, when you've
Yeah.
had enough of that, I have some ideas for you. And would you like to hear them now, or would you like to hear them later? And usually they say, now, please. Most people don't want to wait. They know they're suffering, but they don't know that there's a way
Yeah.
out.
Right.
So I remind them that they're energetic beings and that some of what they're feeling is the fact that they're sensitive and they're picking up other people's stuff. Another
That's
thing they're feeling is being triggered from past experiences.
mhm,
And so thought monitoring again comes up. And what I recommend when people are in on a spiritual emotional crisis
mhm,
is to stop 10 times a day for 1 minute or 5 times a day for 3 minutes or whatever they can do and go, what were my last 5 thoughts?
mm,
Or last 10 thoughts? And actually write them down if they can, when they can, write them down. Because very often that awareness will come and they'll go, I've been thinking about my father's death for,
mhm,
for a month and a half. I
mm,
haven't let go of my dad's death. And then we know where to go with that. Then we go in that direction. We go, okay, you don't know how to let go. Let's talk about some
mm,
letting go skills and how to think. Let's talk about your dad for a minute. And do you think he wants you to be this way?
mm,
Probably not. Okay, do you want to change that? And I ask permission
mhm.
before I give advice most of the time. Because if people aren't ready to change, I don't want to change them. And if they are ready to change, I want to help them. So I let some people hold on to some of their negativity. I go, okay, that's not for today. Keep feeling what you're feeling. You're not done feeling it yet. That's okay. Humans feel. That's what we do. So feel it all, and we'll talk about something else. Let's go somewhere else. And we go work on something else.
And I
I do a skill-based activity usually, a meditation
mm,
or EFT. I love doing EFT for people, especially people with trauma backgrounds.
mm,
I'm a sort of trauma specialist. That's one of
mm,
the things that
mm.
I do. So what were you going to say?
I think that's the important thing, though, is giving ourselves permission to be able, like a 5-year-old. We've
Hmm.
all had a 5-year-old where you're trying to convince them that they need to come out of that tantrum, or you're going to threaten them to come out of that tantrum, but they're not going to come out of that tantrum until they're ready. And
Absolutely.
I've just now newly divorced from somebody I've been separated to for 13 years, but
Mhm.
I went through the anger thing, and so my favorite word for him is asshole, and I'm sorry for the
You
profanity.
say it. I'll drop an F-bomb later. We'll be even.
And it's like I know that I'll get over that when I'm and it's not about him, it's about
No.
my internal dialogue, and that I
Mhm.
know it's coming from my internal, basically just healing and coming to grips with my life, because really this isn't about, usually when we're having those tantrums, it's not about anybody outside of ourselves. It's
No.
always within.
Someone maybe triggered something that's already there. And that's one of the important things for people to understand too, is that the conditioned hardwired neurological responses we have to
Mhm.
everyday life, to situations, to relationships, to whatever is occurring,
Right.
are so buried
Right.
and so deep, and
Mhm.
so it's really hard to learn about them because they're buried, they're deep there, and we have the same response every time we hear such and such a word or so but somebody's name. We go
Yeah.
into fight or flight. Our central nervous system goes into the sympathetic,
Mhm.
and we feel, and we're all tight and we're all tense, and then we're in fear, and but if we don't watch our thoughts, we can't see that coming.
Right.
If we can see it coming, we can go, oh, I heard that word. Oh, okay. What did Denise say? My clients often say, then your voice came to my mind, and I can stop this now. I can stop this now and do something differently. One of the things that I teach, which
Great.
is another basic
Mhm.
skill, but it's fabulous, and you've probably never heard of it. I learned this through a spiritual boot camp that I took about 4 or 5 years ago. That was so
Mhm.
helpful to me. We had to write out about our transgressors. We had to pick 3 major transgressors, people that hurt us, people, places, things, situations, conditions, whatever they were, and extensively write them out. And that was the hardest thing. It put me in a depression. It put me in misery. I wasn't
Wow.
sleeping. I mean, I had a huge reaction. One of them was the church that I was raised in,
Mhm.
and one was my mother, and the other was my father. So they don't get much deeper than that, correct?
Lovely parents, yes.
Well, I adore my parents, but
Mhm.
we've all had work to do through
Yes,
our lifetimes.
that's the key.
Through this lifetime, we've all had work to do,
Mhm.
and we've done a lot of work. And
Mm,
I'm grateful that I've had two parents that
mm.
eventually were open-minded enough to hear me
Wow.
and honor me. And
Mm,
yeah, it took I had it's been very a cool journey with both my parents. My
that's
father's now on the other side, and we've never been better friends. But that
I
happened
with
before he died.
you. Okay, well, mine didn't happen before he died. Mine happened after.
It happened just before he died that we
Wow.
completely got to peace with each other. So when he's great. So, people, so when you're monitoring your own thought, you can see it coming. You can go, oh boy, I just heard that word. Oh, I just saw that person. Oh my God, that person looks like my perpetrator. And you can feel it. And after you watch your thoughts for a little while,
Mhm.
then I teach, give it a name. Then I teach people awareness of their negative self-talk. Watch and when they after you monitor your thoughts for a while, you recognize the negative self-talk, and
Yeah.
you see that there are patterns, and you see that it's very similar, and then it comes out in situations that are similar, and you gain more awareness. Awareness is the key. Opens the door to healing.
Mhm.
So I often ask people to give their critical voice a name, because it's not their voice. It was thrust upon them. It was conditioned upon them. They learned it somewhere. It's a learned thought
Exactly.
response.
Oh my gosh.
And I tell them to give it a name. And it's a name, needs to be a neutral name that doesn't trigger anything. It needs to be a name. My negative voice her name is Maud. It means nothing to me. It's just a name. I think of the show Maud, but I love B. Arthur. So, I mean, it doesn't really trigger anything in me.
Mhm.
So I teach people and I say, when it's really bad and you're having chronic negative thoughts, especially the same negative thoughts about yourself or about someone else, if it's obsessive, say, shut the fuck up. There's the F-bomb.
There it
I
is.
owe you one. I owe you one. And some people are not comfortable saying that, and that's okay. You
Yeah.
don't have to.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
something strong, and I have them come up with the phrase
Mhm.
and tell that critical voice that's not yours. It's probably your parents' voice or your coach's voice or the voice of some priest or minister or the voice of who knows, your abuser or whatever. It's somebody else's voice that taught you were no good, or that
Mhm.
taught you were worthless, or taught you were ugly, or taught you weren't smart. Somebody else taught you that.
Yes.
Otherwise, I would never have the thought I'm not smart enough. I
Right.
learned that. That's
Exactly.
I can come up with that.
Mhm.
Someone taught me that, and
Mhm.
I adopted it. It's my adopted child, but it's not me. So give it a name, tell it to stop. So hence Satan is another one some people like.
Mhm.
Um, you're all done. You're a liar. I don't listen to liars. I mean, whatever, something firm. The first time I did it, like I said before, I was in this boot camp and I was miserable because I was dealing emotionally with all my stuff.
Mhm.
And my teacher said, have you given that your critical self voice, the one that says you're depressed, the one that says you're not good enough, the ones that says you'll never get better, blah blah blah, all that stuff. Have you given it a name? And I went, I know you teach that, but it doesn't make sense to me. It just hasn't struck me yet. I mean, I no, I haven't. And he said, what have you got to lose? Give it a
Exactly.
try. And I
Yeah.
went, okay, I will. The first time, in no uncertain terms, I told Maud to shut the F up, it was like something came loose. I
Yeah.
could feel something like come loose. Maud got loose, is what happened. Maud loosened her connection to me, the grown up me. The connection was loosened. It wasn't broken, but it was loosened. And I felt it vibrationally the
Mhm.
first time. I was like, what? And then it became very real to me that critical voice was not me. Those were all lies.
Uh,
Those were all lies. So that was a big, big thing for me to learn. And you don't have to do this telling the critical voice to shut up very often before some of the
mhm.
eventually you rewire, get
Mhm.
new neurological thought loops that because you replace it then
Yeah.
after you tell it to shut up, then you say, I am smart, or I am beautiful, or I love my hair. And I say something you mean, my
Mm.
hair is beautiful. I graduated from college magna cum laude. I am smart, you know.
Mhm.
Tell yourself truth. Tell
Yes.
yourself truth. The other thing I teach is I am statements. Think about what your I am statements are, because if I am is a name of God, source
Mhm.
in the Bible, biblical.
Mhm.
So if you say I am this, you make it happen, you make it real, you make it more true. You
Mhm.
make yourself believe that it's true. So watch your I am statements. After I am, make sure it's positive. This is spiritual psychology.
I love that. That's why I started Reach the Unlimited, because I started realizing that even my core beliefs is where I started, which was back to our original conversation about God, coming from
Mhm.
what I was taught. What
Sure.
actually I wasn't taught, what I was forced to learn, because I didn't
Mhm.
indoctrination. Everybody's about
You
indoctrination.
were absolute conditioned
It is.
indoctrination. Yes, 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 yes.
Oh my gosh. But yet it wasn't my beliefs. And I was uncomfortable
Mhm.
with it because I didn't believe in all of the garbage that I was taught around that. I'm just going to put it that way. And so that
Yep.
was my first entry into, oh my God, I have way more power over my life. I have way more
Yay.
power over my decisions. I have way more power over my
You
choices.
know what word I like to use for people when they come to that understanding of themselves? Sovereignty. You have
Yes.
sovereignty. You gain sovereignty when you can silence the critical thoughts, and
Mhm.
when you can your I am statements that are going on in your thought life in your own head are positive, you have more sovereignty over your own life.
The only thing I learned from that is, okay, I jumped over that hurdle. Then there was another one because I still find I don't remember what I was doing over the past 2 weeks. And I realized, oh my God, there's another belief that's not mine. It's something I was
Oh.
taught. It was something I was basically indoctrinated into, and it wasn't really truly mine. So what I
Mhm,
realized that we have a lot of these when we can actually
mhm,
look at them and go, where did I
mhm,
come up with this? Why do I believe this? Especially those ones that really rub up against us in a bad or wrong way. When we're, like you said, we have that dialogue or there's something that feels off with it or something.
mhm,
And that's the thing that I always love, because I've been working with some people that are going through some situations, and their subconscious mind brings them back into what they're comfortable to, or where they want it
familiar.
to go. Even though they want to get away from it, they naturally, in a subconscious level, will make choices or decisions that bring them back to where they're trying to get out of, which is really intriguing to me, how our mind kind of works against our what's natural. Isn't that intriguing
Mhm.
to you?
It is intriguing, and it's also something that we're not taught, at least in my generation. I think the younger kids are coming
Yeah.
up in a different way and learning new things that we didn't have access to. Well, I don't know how old you are, but I'm 66. None of this
I'm
was
close to
talked
that.
about. None of this was talked about when I was a kid,
Right.
and
None.
nobody knew what critical self-thought. What you just did what your parents told you to do, and you were a good girl.
And
That's
not,
it. Do what
yes.
the church tells you to do. You're a good girl. Don't worry. Everything. So what did I do? I made mistakes and hid them and felt like
Mhm.
I was sinning against God. I thought there was a black mark on my soul, and that I was going to hell because I played with matches.
Oh,
I mean, every little thing I did, God's watching you. I had this feeling, I had this overwhelming feeling that I had no privacy, that I had no autonomy, because everything I did, God was watching. So I better watch so I became hypervigilant.
exactly. Yeah, I hear
And
you.
that was part of where my hypervigilance, which was a problem,
Mhm.
it was a hard one. It was a hard one to heal.
Even going into mediumship for me was huge, because I had to go through
No
years
doubt.
untraining my whole belief that that's evil. You're
That was,
dealing with Satan, and you're dealing with the devil, and it's just like it was a
mhm,
long process. In fact, I was just talking to a friend of mine today when I first came into this woo-woo world, I guess you can say, and she was
mhm,
into more energy kind of stuff, and I'm like, And she was, she wasn't afraid of spirits and whatever. And I'm like, you go get the spirits. I'll be in the closet. Leave me in there. Let me know when it's all done. Cause I was like, not talking to them, not going to see them. Not, And now I'm like, are you kidding? It's the most loving, amazing experience to communicate with the spirits on the other side, no matter who they are.
Oh, it really is, isn't it?
It is. It's beautiful. It's interesting though what you said, and I really can relate with this about it not really being spirits or angels or guides, but the energies of what these different hierarchies or archetypes might be in our life. Like, I always tell people when I'm teaching them mediumship, you're talking to your father, but your father really isn't your father. He's many other things. He just comes as your father so you would understand father. But yet they have many other parts of them, because I believe that we have many other lives. We have many other things that we're doing in the universal consciousness. So if he comes to me as something other than father, then I'm not going to know who that is. So they come as that particular loved one that you had, but yet
we have a group of loved ones.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. Our limiting beliefs when we're stuck into the perplexities of the world versus the enormous opportunities that the world has to offer us.
Have you ever had, I'd like to ask you a question if you don't mind. This is interesting to me. Have you ever been with someone in a mediumship situation, either one-on-one or in a group, that went, crossed their arms and went, nope, nope.
Oh yeah.
Nope.
Oh yeah.
And then have them call you 6 months later or a year later and go, oh my God, I thought I was going to break that day. I thought I finally, you were so dead on, or whatever, but they couldn't hear it at that moment.
At that
So
moment, yes.
one of the things that I think mediums like you, I do some mediumship, but I don't really call myself a medium because it's not the primary thing that I do. But I think I'm more of a channel than a medium, meaning I channel other energies probably more than I channel departed loved ones, although I certainly can. And it does happen that I channel departed loved ones.
Yeah.
But do you find that when people block, say no, or refuse, that it's because they're afraid, or they don't, or what's going on there with people?
I teach this a lot because it happens a lot where the sitter could be in some type of amnesia of some sort. And it all comes from many different kinds of things. One, I really believe sometimes the words that the medium use, that is what makes them. In fact, I was just teaching this morning, and this was a part of what I had to work on with someone, is the words that you use. It's not that you said something wrong, but it's how, again, belief systems, right? It's going back to what you believe, then that's how you see the world. And it's kind of the same thing with a sitter, what they believe. Like if you were to bring my father through right now, well, when I first started, if you were to bring him through and say, oh, he was a kind man and he was very patient, I'd be like, yeah, you don't know my father. But yet,
you hadn't worked on your issues, you were still in resistance, right?
But what I know now is that because of the healing that I've done, I can remember different times of my father's life where he was that. But I'm just saying, if you were to tell me that straight out of the gate as me being a sitter for you, I would have been, either paid or not, I would have been like, no, that's not my father. In fact, the first person that read for my father as a medium when I was first starting, I was like, no. But again, it's that feeling too. So if you don't have that real connection with spirit, that sitter can feel, oh yes, that's my father. And then you're giving some part, because every person, this is the thing, every person has many different facets to them. They're not just one thing. But yet we can walk away with the impression that somebody is this one thing based on our experience. So a lot of times it's the sitter not really one being open to the information, or the medium isn't saying it in a way that they can understand it. But a lot of times it's because they're not ready for it as well. So there's many different reasons that can happen. And the other thing though, that I would say for any mediums that have dealt with that, is you always have to speak what you receive and don't deviate from that. Doesn't mean you're being rude. You don't be rude to somebody. No, I know it's this way. You just let the sitter pondering whatever they're pondering and say, I'm just going
Mhm.
to move on from that, because exactly what you said happens. Most of the time they come back and go, oh my God, I wasn't thinking about that. Of course, that's what it was.
Mhm.
It
Yep.
happens a lot, a lot.
It does. I do, well, I do a lot of card reading. Well,
Hmm.
I'm channeling. I start my readings with a channel, and sometimes departed ones come through, or sometimes angels. Sometimes I don't even know who it is. I just have the information, and I just give it. Then
Yeah.
I open the cards, and I'm still in channel, so I'm just receiving like energetic. I'm translating energy that's coming to me, and
Right.
into words that the person will understand. And I've only had a few, I haven't had that many, not lately anyway, but boy, I had one woman, she literally crossed her arms, crossed her legs, and sat like this through the whole reading. Wouldn't
You
give me
know,
an inch.
I
It
find that
that
mediumship,
was what are you
medium,
gonna do? I said, you know what? I have to give you what I get, and
yeah.
maybe someday this will make sense to you. I just hope that I pray that someday this will make sense to you. Yeah,
I
well, whatever, and then
I
they
find
come
that
back to me.
mediumship is one thing, but card reading, oh my God. When I literally, and now I get it. I see it almost instantly. You're giving them information they don't want to hear.
Mhm.
They don't want, in fact, I just did a read for someone yesterday. She goes, oh my God, you gave me everything that I needed to hear, but I didn't want to hear. And I thank you for it. And that's a rarity. When you're
Mm.
giving someone tough or hard information and they're like, nope, nope, nope. And they put this wall up and they walk away going, nope, nope. But I've had a lot of them come back later and say, yes, I understand what you're saying. Some of them won't, because they're not ready to hear what it is that spirit wanted.
Well, it is all about receptivity. It's about how open and receptive a person is to hearing their truth. And
Right.
I know that I've been in times of denial. If someone told me 20 years ago, you know what you need, you've got some issues, you know what you need, you should be doing A, B, C, D, you've got to get over this, you got to get. I don't know how many years I spent listening to people tell me
Yeah.
I shouldn't be angry at my ex.
Oh,
You
yeah, I'm on
give
that
it up.
page.
It's making you sick. It's making you ill. Why? Just stop. Just stop. Just stop. And I'm like, what do you mean just stop? What do you mean just I have no idea. Well, now I've stopped. I haven't been angry at him in a few years now.
Yeah.
And uh, thank God. I mean, I left him 30 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And it took me until this past decade. I'm going to say this past 6 or 7 years.
But that was your process.
And that's why I never begrudge anyone their feelings.
Yeah.
You feel what you feel, and you feel as long as you need to feel it. And when you're ready to work on that again, let me know. When you're ready to hear some new ways to look at it, let me know. Because if you got to feel it to heal it, there's no truer statement. You got
Ex
to feel it to heal it.
ex
And you
and
got to, and if you don't feel, you don't know what you need to work on either. If you just shut your feelings
Exactly.
off,
Yeah.
then you don't know where to go. You don't, if you, people can shut down.
Yeah.
People know how to do that. They had to learn that as a survival skill.
Oh,
There's a
I
lot
learned.
of shut down people wandering around the planet. And
Mhm.
if you happen to catch them at a shutdown moment,
Mhm.
if
Yep.
people give me the body language, or I get the
Oh,
feeling during
yeah.
a meeting or during a class that they're shut down, I stop everything and I say, we need to do some energy work. So let's all stomp our feet and let's all open our arms and let's do some breathing. Let's get active.
Uh-huh.
I light some incense. I do sensory work,
Mhm.
because that brings people back sometimes into their center, or at least somewhere in the vicinity of their center, so they can receive whatever it is that they would best be served by.
I love that. That is perfect. And I think that the thing about it is not taking the time or changing for somebody else. It's you having to go through your process to learn through that process.
Mm,
That's all it's about. It's not about being mad at somebody
um,
else, or, I was going through a situation and I was talking to a good friend of mine, and she was like, you know what? You need to go back into your inner child and you need to heal that
mhm,
part of that wound to yourself, not to the person who had caused the situation to happen.
mhm,
And then you're able to go back to that person. This is very true. I was able to go back to that person and say, bless you, basically. It's not your problem. It's my internal problem. It's my
Mhm.
inner child that's wounded. And if I can turn that away or turn that around and say, okay, I love myself and I'm the one that's going to stand into my, it doesn't take the pain away. I want to make that separation.
Not
Doesn't
right away, but it can over time.
it can't, because you no longer are triggered by it, but you are able to rise above it then and say that my life is important and I'm doing this for me and not for the other person. I'm not lashing out because I know I was the queen of this. I'm going to lash out at you, but I end up hurting myself because why? It's like, why are you doing that? You need to stop. And so it took me a long time to learn that. I have one more question for you that I really want to ask, even though we're right on the hour and I say I try as close as I can, is I like what Jacqueline had asked, is that I feel like I am having difficulty perceiving divine
Uh,
guidance.
I'm not seeing comments. I
It's
don't
not,
know
well,
why.
on your phone, you probably won't, but
I want to say, can I just say to everyone that's listening, because I have a whole bunch of people listening, thank you for being here. I can't see your comments if you've left any, but I will look at this later and see your comments.
yeah,
My
it'll.
desktop is working and I'm off my mobile phone. Thank you.
So, what would you say to her about not being able to perceive divine guidance?
I would say that the first place to start is relaxing the central nervous system.
Mm,
And that means taking walks, taking baths,
mhm,
scrubs, sea salt scrubs, drinking tea mindfully, whatever works to help one be present with oneself in the moment. Breathing, doing deep diaphragmatic breaths, getting a lot of oxygen into the body, just being okay with who you are for a minute, for 5 minutes, for half an hour, exercise or whatever, to get in fully embodied, fully present, and know that everything is going to be okay. You're okay. You're okay now. Everything's fine. Okay, you're okay right now. There's nothing really wrong except what's going on in between the ears. So if you
mhm.
calm the mind, you will receive all the answers that you need. You already have them. They're already there waiting for you to become receptive.
Right.
And as soon as you become receptive, you will receive the divine guidance that's always flowing. It's always flowing. It's never not flowing. Everyone has access. So, what do you need to change to relax, to receive, to allow? What needs to happen here?
Well, she said she's out for a walk right now listening to this live, so she's out there moving her body. I think the other
Good
thing
job.
too, I know, is, not only is it getting out and, like, distracting your mind, exercising, doing something, whatever, but it
Mhm.
also has to come into your belief system as well. So if you believe that you can't connect to the divine source and that divine is not guiding you, then you're gonna not hear it. It's like, and
Right. Belief,
I
belief
know.
is everything. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know, Jacqueline, as a medium, that it's the surrendering and the awareness. And so when we're not opening up to that, then we're not surrendering and becoming aware of what divine wants us to know. We're
Mhm.
kind of manipulating it and railroading it. No, it's got to be my way. And that comes from a belief system. I'm not good
It
enough, or I'm
does.
not capable, or whatever.
I'm
Yeah,
not worthy.
everything.
I'm not, it's not possible for me or whatever.
Right. Right.
Just watch those aha moments because sometimes the voices of our guides come in the guise of our own voice.
Hmm.
And
Exactly.
sometimes we'll have our own, we'll go,
Mhm.
suddenly we'll have an awareness and,
Mhm.
and it'll feel like, feel like an epiphany, but it's in our own voice.
Right.
It's not necessarily, it's our highest self in communion with the
Yeah.
energies
Mhm.
around us.
Mhm. I love this. Thank you so much. This has been a fabulous conversation. I've enjoyed it so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you for
I
being.
have too. I've had a really good time.
Oh,
I hope
good.
you invite me back again someday.
Absolutely.
Hey, maybe you can do an interview with me sometime.
Absolutely. Anytime. I would love to.
That would be great. I'd
Yeah.
love to get to hear more about you and hear how you work and what goes on with you. This is a great medium. This is a wonderful channel, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's definitely my inspiration, and real love is about reaching the highest potential, because we put a shelf on it. We put a roof or a stopping point, and we could just keep going. Let's just reach for the
There is no end. We keep
There's no
going. There's no end.
exactly. Yeah.
So people will be able to see this on YouTube
Yes.
later, right?
No, it's on right now. It
Oh,
will
I
be.
know, but it will stay there. It will be
Oh, yeah, it
recorded.
doesn't go anywhere. It stays there. Yeah.
A
You can
bunch of
go
people
back
have
and
to
watch
do that.
all of my interviews on there still. They're all there. Well,
Ooh,
most of
let's
them
go
are
watch them all. That'll be
there.
fun.
You don't want to do that. Anyway, yes, it will be there. And it's both on, it will continue to be on Facebook and on YouTube. The
Oh,
two.
great,
It's
great.
actually on Twitter too, but nobody goes onto the Twitter and looks at my interviews.
That's good. That's good information, though. People find out from Twitter and then go to YouTube.
They do that too. Yes, yes. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for
My
being
pleasure.
here.
Many
right.
blessings to you.
Thank you. And you too. And thank you everybody for being here. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to put it in the comment section. We will. The one thing I have to say is the comments won't be in YouTube, but they will be in Facebook. But nobody, I'll think, Elena is on YouTube.
Oh, hi, Elena. She told me she was going to be here.
And Mary is, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, Mary M is on YouTube. But all the comments will stay on Facebook, but they won't stay on YouTube. Other than that, they're all on Facebook. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.